Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to talk about some things you absolutely have to do if you want your offer to be accepted in one of the hottest markets we've ever seen here in the South Florida real estate market, and we're going to jump right into it, so don't go anywhere. Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Living in Fort Lauderdale. My name is Rob Zeoli, and I'm a real estate agent right down here in South Florida. And if this is your first time here to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about the South Florida real estate market, then please consider subscribing and tap the notifications down there below to be notified anytime that I go ahead and put out a new video. I put out weekly videos and content about what it's like to live and to play down here in South Florida. But more than that, guys, I'm a licensed real estate agent, and what I love more than anything is to help people just like you with their real estate needs. So if you have any questions at all about any of the things we talk about in these videos, any of the neighborhoods, you can reach me 24/7 by phone, by text, by email. My information will be popping up down below throughout the video, and I look forward to hearing from you and helping you make it a smooth transition, whether you're relocating from anywhere throughout the country or you're already here in South Florida. And without further ado, let's dive straight into this video. Now, if you're in the process of buying a home and you've been doing any sort of research or know anyone who's already bought a home recently or sold a home, you're probably pretty aware of what is going on in the real estate market throughout the country. Basically, we are in a very, very hot and competitive real estate market, especially down here in South Florida. Now, unfortunately, when you're in a very, very competitive seller's market like we're in right now, buyers are going to go through some extreme measures to make sure that they win their offer and get a home. Now, I definitely don't think I'd be doing my job if I didn't let you know what some of these extreme measures are. So this way you can use some of the same strategies to make sure your offer gets accepted. Now, although sellers mainly look at price, that's not the only thing that they're looking at. They're also looking at a buyer who will meet their terms, and the one that is going to meet their terms and gives the best offer is usually the one that makes it to the closing table. So really, when you think about it, the buyer that can check off and use most of these strategies is going to have the most buying power, and the buyer with the most buying power is definitely going to be the one that the seller is going to do business with, and they're going to get to the closing table. So let's dive into some of these strategies right now. Now, one of the things that we encourage buyers to consider as part of their offer is to offer the seller a post-occupancy agreement. Now, post-occupancy agreements have been around forever. They are not really used that often, but they are being used more and more in this market. I've seen it time and time again, and definitely something that makes an offer very attractive to a seller. So you have to understand that a seller, most of the time is also a buyer on the other end, and they have to go through and actually find a home and go through logistics of moving themselves. So giving them some time to stay in the home after closing to get their ducks in a row is usually very, very attractive to the seller. Now, one of the things right now that's very, very difficult to have included in an offer is a contingency that basically states that the sale is contingent on the sale of a buyer's home. So in this case, if you're purchasing from a seller who needs to purchase a home, having them being able to remove that contingency on their buying end can be very, very attractive for them, because it's almost unheard of right now to have that as part of an offer. Now, this is something you're going to have to think about if you want to do that. You got to remember, once you close, your mortgage payments are not going to really start for another 30 days after closing. So it can be a very, very attractive option, and a lot of sellers are going to look at this, and it really might just put your offer over the top and be the one they're going to consider if you offer it to them. Obviously, you're going to have to work things out and have a place to stay. while you're waiting for this post-occupancy, to go through. You could even consider giving them an extended post-occupancy, and all the terms of that are totally negotiable, but just having that in there really can put your offer over the top. I've worked with many sellers lately that we were able to negotiate that into the contract for them, and a lot of buyers are actually including that in their offers, and it is definitely something that we're seeing more and more of. And it's very, very effective in getting your offer to stand out and get accepted by the seller. Another thing you could do if you're going VA or FHA is to remove the contingency that states that the seller will pay for any sort of repairs. So as part of any FHA or VA contract, depending on the condition of the home, there's a possibility that the lender might come back and ask for some sort of lender required repair. These could include termites, roof leaks, any sort of wood damage, safety issues. So as part of the contract, it's usually customary for the seller to pay up to a certain amount for those repairs. So removing that cost from the seller is definitely something you should consider if you're going FHA or VA. Another thing you can consider, and it's becoming pretty much quite common and the norm right now, is to pay over appraised value. Now, there really is no set amount. It really depends on the price point of the homes. It's kind of around between 5 and 10% in some cases. And the seller is absolutely going to expect this, especially right now if you're offering over asking price, and 90% of the time that is the case down here in South Florida. Now, the other thing some buyers are doing, and you might want to consider, is to waive the appraisal entirely. Now, you really need to be careful when doing that, because if you do waive the appraisal, if it comes in extremely low compared to the offer price, you're going to be on the hook and have to come in with that amount of cash at closing. So what's very customary right now, what we're doing is what we call an appraisal gap. You're going to offer whatever it is, say it's $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over asking price, and you're going to have a clause in the contract that states if the home does not appraise, you will pay up to, say, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over appraised value up to that purchase price. So there is a cap, and you're protected up to a certain point, as opposed to just waiving the appraisal entirely. Again, extremely common right now in this market. Now, another thing you should consider doing is putting down a larger earnest money deposit. Customary is about 3% of the purchase price. You might want to consider putting down more to make your offer more attractive. Remember, your money is in a third-party escrow account. It is protected. The only way you'll lose that deposit is if you default on the contract, so you're pretty much okay with the deposit if you want to put down more to make your offer more attractive. Another thing, I don't want to say consider, you should absolutely have this done beforehand, is to have a full pre-approval from your lender if you're going to be financing, instead of just a pre-qualification letter. Anybody right now as a seller and listing agent is going to ask for a full approval, meaning that all assets and income and credit score has been basically verified and gone through underwriting from the buyer and the lender. They're not going to take any chances on you not being fully qualified. So you should definitely do this upfront and always offer a full pre-approval. Pre-qualification that you go online and get, by just popping in a bunch of information is out the window. You have to be fully approved and show that to the seller just to even be considered. Now, another thing that buyers are offering is a non-refundable earnest money deposit. Now, this is another one that's kind of risky, because if you pull out of the contract for any reason, having to do with any contingency, inspection, low appraisal, whatever it is, you're going to be on the hook for losing that earnest money deposit. So basically the only reason you would do this is if you're willing to waive every other contingency on the property, or be able to part with that earnest money deposit. People are doing it, buyers are doing it, so definitely something that we want to alert you to give you the opportunity to think about it if in fact you wanted to consider that when putting in an offer. Another thing you want to consider is putting more money down on your loan. So something that's always very attractive is if someone is putting down a lot of cash and financing less for the property. This is something you definitely want to work with your lender on. There is kind of a limit you want to think about doing it, especially if you're going to be doing some sort of an appraisal gap. It might be better off not putting down, say, 30-40% and leaving yourself some cash if you need to cover an appraisal gap, as opposed to just putting down extra on the loan itself. So definitely something you want to work out with your lender. But in general, offers that are putting down more of a down payment and they're financing less are definitely more attractive to a seller. Unfortunately, right now it makes it very difficult for buyers that are going, FHA, and buyers that are putting down 3.5% and 5%. It's just one of those things at this point, very, very competitive market. Those buyers are having a really, really hard time. But in general, sellers like people that put down a lot of money and finance a less portion. Another thing you might want to consider doing is to have the appraisal done before or at the same time as the inspection, or during the inspection period. So typically the inspection is done within, say, 7 to 10 days of signing the contract, and then after that will come the appraisal. If you could do it quicker and just knock out that hurdle as far as the appraisal, and if there's any sort of a gap and any negotiations that have to be done, very, very attractive if that could be done during the due diligence and inspection period, and definitely something you should think about doing. Now, there is going to be a cost to you to do the appraisal, but again, buyers are doing that right now, and again, it's anything that you can to make your offer more attractive and stand out, usually in a crowd, because you're going to most likely be in some sort of a multiple offer situation. The next one, removing seller concessions, is very, very obvious at this time in this market. You don't really see many concessions in a contract, and the whole point of this whole video is to remove as many of these as possible. Unfortunately, this is the market we're in right now, so you want your offer to be as clean as humanly possible if you can, just to give your offer a much better chance of being accepted. Another thing that you want to consider doing is writing a letter to the seller. It might sound very simple, but it's very, very effective. Again, the point is to stand out as best you can from the crowd and make your offer more attractive and stronger than the others that are being submitted on a property. Now, we would not be involved in helping you draft this letter. There's many examples online about letters from buyers to sellers when it comes to putting in an offer, so I would definitely look at a couple of those. But you want to try to make some sort of personal connection with the seller, and again, definitely something you want to consider because it's being used a lot right now, and sometimes it can push you over the edge and make your offer stand out enough to win the house and win the offer. Another thing that's very effective is to shorten all the timelines on the contract. Now, there are certain timelines that are built into the contract: closing date, financing, contingency, loan approval, inspection. So you want to just think about shortening as many of those as much as you can. Sellers like the most amount of money. They like the cleanest contracts, and they want things done quick. They want to know, that the property is going to close. So the quicker you can do all these things, definitely the better off you're going to be. So you want to try to close as fast as you can, maybe 30 days. If your lender can do, say, 21 days, check with them beforehand. Maybe you want to close as quickly as possible. You definitely want to do your inspection in 5 to 7 days if you can. Again, we talked about the appraisal, doing it a little quicker. So the object is to shorten the timelines. Again, this is a very simple thing and can make your offer stand out in the crowd. Now, the next one we have in our checklist here is to pay over asking price, and that's kind of a given right now in this market. Most properties are being sold at or over asking price. Obviously, this all depends on where the seller is pricing their home, but obviously the point is to make your offer as attractive as possible. So again, most of the times things are selling for over asking price. So again, that's pretty much a given in this video. Now, the next thing in the list is pay cash. So obviously, if you're not able to pay cash, you're not going to be able to pay cash, but there's a lot of buyers right now that are buying cash here in South Florida, more than we've ever seen before, and this is in all price points. So, you know, if you can do it, you know, if you have the means, it might just mean the difference between getting the house and not, because if you do pay cash, you're removing a lot of the contingencies already just by doing that. All the financing contingencies are out. The seller doesn't have to wait for any of that. There's no appraisal. There's no worry about that. So obviously very, very attractive to pay cash if you can do it, and something to consider. Now, the next one has to do with financing, and we talked earlier about how difficult it is right now to get a seller to consider an FHA or a VA loan. You know, they'll always, most of the time, go lean towards a conventional loan. They close quicker. There's less contingencies throughout the contract, so always more attractive. So if there's any way you can do that, definitely something to talk to your lender about and consider, because it's only going to make your offer stand out. Now, another one is to waive the home inspection, and this is definitely one that I do not recommend you do, because if you do waive the home inspection and there is a huge, or you know, a few huge issues in the home, you're going to be assuming all of them. So very, very risky. But again, like I mentioned before, some buyers are going through extreme measures right now to secure a home, and this is one of the things that they're doing, is removing the inspection contingency. Now, if it's a newer home or a brand new home, you know, you might feel a lot more comfortable doing that, but you know, a home that's 20 years old, 30 years old, very, very risky. Some people are doing it. If you have a construction background, maybe you'll feel better about doing it if you do a little mini inspection of your own, if the seller allows that. But I mean, as far as doing a full-blown home inspection, really, really think about that before you waive that. But some people are doing it, and again, I want to just give you, you know, all the strategies that other buyers are using right now, just to make sure you know what they are and you can use them if you feel comfortable. Now, you might be saying to yourself, and we've been told directly to our faces, hey, Robert, you know, this is really great, but it seems like you're really favoring the seller with all this information. And, you know, honestly, that's right. That's true. It is a seller's market right now. So, you know, sellers are really in the driver's seat. You know, when there's no inventory out there and there's not many homes for sale, and there's, you know, 6, 7, 8 offers on a property, and the seller knows this, you really, really have to be decisive and really determined to do what you need to secure that home and win the home and win the bid. And this is what buyers are doing in this market. So I'd rather you know about these and maybe turn them down and not want to use them, as opposed to, you know, putting an offer on a home and not getting it and finding out, say, Robert, why didn't I get it? And I'm going to tell you, hey, well, you know, your offer was great, they loved your offer, but the buyer waived the appraisal. And then you're going to come back and say, well, why didn't you tell me? I would have done that myself. Or, you know, you would have done one of the other strategies that they employed that I did not mention to you. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up. This is what buyers are doing right now in this market to win the bids and secure homes. And it is a seller's market, so it is really geared towards the seller. You know, the one who puts up the most money and meets the seller's terms is always going to be the one that wins the house. So I just wanted to share this with you, especially for this market right now in South Florida. It's the hottest real estate market that I've ever seen, and I've been doing this since 2006. So if you have any questions, guys, get in touch with us. All right, so I really appreciate you sticking around and watching the video, and hopefully give you something to think about. This is just a little sample of our buying power checklist, and if you have any questions about anything we spoke spoke about in this video, or of any of the neighborhoods or areas we speak about on this channel. I'd love to help you find that perfect place you might be thinking of moving to or just want to go see. All you got to do is reach out. So again, my information will be popping up down below. You can reach me 24/7. I look forward to hearing from you and making it a smooth transition with any of your moves, relocating from, say, New York, California, or even if you're moving here locally. And until next time, guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.